Members, a quorum is present. We ask our guests and visitors in the gallery in the rear of the chambers to please stand. We'll have the Assembly Chaplain, Father Papademos, to offer today's prayer. My pleasure.
Good morning. Let us pray. Lord, you are not moved by our needs. You are not moved by our whining or complaining, but you do notice our faith in you. Grant us an attitude of faith, patience, and endurance. Strengthen us with your power to exercise perseverance and to stand strong in faith, to face those challenges that come against us. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing. We'll have Member Duvall to lead us in the pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Wednesday, July 15, 2009. Assembly
Mr. Rico moves and Mr. Blakely seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Message from the governor, there are none. Message from the Senate, there are none. Motions, resolutions, Mr. Rico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I request unanimous consent for Assembly members Buchanan, Gilmore, Swanson, and myself to have guests and photographers on the floor this morning.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to allow Assembly member Gilmore to have a guest at his desk this morning.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to allow the following members: Brownlee, De Leon, Harkey, Logue, and Nielo to personally adjourn in memory of individuals today.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to re-refer SB 388 by Senator Calderon from the Appropriations Committee to the second reading file.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, at the request of the authors, please send the following bills to the inactive file. File item 106, SB 778 by Senator Wiggins, and file item 138, SB 538 by the Senate Committee on Public Employee Retirement and Social Security.
Without objection. Members, Ms. Buchanan would like to recognize some special guests. Ms. Buchanan, would you like to introduce your guests today?
They're going to join me here in a minute, but I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to recognize the students from Monte Vista High School in Danville, California, and their advisor for their outstanding achievements in both statewide and national speech and debate competitions. After 4 days and nearly 30 hours of competition, all three students were awarded top honors during their respective speech and debate events while attending the National Speech and Debate Tournament held in Birmingham, Alabama from June 15th to June 19th. Nipun Bhandari, a senior at Monte Vista High School, recently placed third in the nation during the Senate Mock Congress portion of the tournament. He also placed first in the Stanford National Invitational Competition and second at UC Berkeley National Invitational Competition, and will be attending Cornell University in the fall. Sebastian DeLuca, a junior at Monte Vista, was awarded fifth place in the nation during the House Mock Congress portion of the National Speech and Debate Tournament. He also placed third in the California State Championships, first at the UC Berkeley National Invitational Competition, and second place at the Stanford National Invitational Competition. Sebastian will be returning to Monte Vista in the fall as both a senior and president of the speech and debate class. Elliot Velson, also a junior at Monte Vista, was ranked 8th place in the country for international extemporaneous speaking. Early this year, Elliot took 5th place at the California State Championship, the same honor he received during last year's competition. In the fall, he will be attending Columbia University. Finally, and most importantly, I'd like to recognize Mr. David Matley, the director and head coach of Monte Vista's Speech and Debate program. With his dedication and guidance, Monte Vista received the National Forensic League School of Excellence Award, which is given to the highest-ranking school in the nation for speech and debate. Please join me in recognizing these students and their incredible advisor and their accomplishments.
Welcome to the Capitol. Mr. Gilmore, would you like to introduce your guest today? Members, if we can have your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, my wife and I are blessed to have 6 wonderful grandchildren, and with me today I have one of those blessings. Brendan, if you'd stand, he just celebrated his 11th birthday yesterday, and he's going into the 6th grade. Our pride and joy, Brendan Drury.
Welcome to the Capitol. Mr. Swanson, you have a special recognition today.
Mr. Speaker?
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker and members, as many of you are aware, for 30 years I had the opportunity to serve as a staff person to members of Congress, as a senior advisor and chief of staff to members of Congress. And one of the things that I learned during that time is such an appreciation for staff, having served as staff, and appreciation for mentorship. And so one of the reasons why I came to the California State Assembly was to mentor young people. Since that time, I have sent 3 staffers off to law school. Well, I have another staffer that's leaving and going to law school. And he is one that had been with me from the very beginning, and I wanted to introduce him to some of you and reintroduce him to some others. I would like to introduce this fabulous staff member who has been with me since the beginning of our effort. Douglas McClain came to me with an impassioned array of experience. He is fluent as a Japanese speaker. He has taught school in both America and Japan before jumping into politics as a volunteer for me and working on several initiatives. Douglas joined my campaign staff for the State Assembly in 2005. He came to me looking to volunteer, and he's the only person that walked in and said, first thing he says, I want to interview you to see if you meet my standards. I was so impressed with that obviously I had to hire the young man. He has played a very important role for me here in the Capitol. He has been my deputy legislative director as well as my communication director, and so we're going to really miss him. I'm very proud, but it's with a heavy heart that we send him off to Georgetown University Law School. He will be studying international human relations with a focus on human trafficking in the Pacific Rim. I'm happy to take credit for this move. He's repeatedly mentioned how much he enjoyed our work, my legislation on anti-trafficking, my first bill, AB 49, and my bill this year, AB 17. He has been, played a very important part of that legislation. And so we're sending him away with this resolution today with a handshake and a check. And I just wanted you to acknowledge this young man because he is one of the reasons why I'm here, because I think our youth are our future generation. And please give him a round of applause. He's a great young man.
Members, we have one additional presentation. Mr. Tirico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honored to introduce to the body this morning Mr. Gabriel Perez Puentes, officer and official from the Colombian General Federation of Labor, to the Assembly floor today. in a spirit of cooperation and growth between two nations. I'm very proud to introduce Mr. Puentes. Like many of us, he has very humble beginnings and has been an advocate and a fighter for working families in his native Colombia. In 1992, he jumped at the opportunity to participate in a historic and first and only merger of the two largest labor unions in Colombia. During his time as a union leader, he has been a consultant on 52 collective bargaining agreements. He is currently the secretary of the Organization of the Colombian Federation of Workers in Different Industries. Please join me in welcoming a very special guest from Colombia, Mr. Gabriel Perez Puentes.
Welcome to the Capitol. We'll move to the business of the daily file. Second reading, clerk will read.
Assembly Constitutional Amendment 21, Senate Bill 54, 660, 367, 797,
All bills will be
197.
deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. It's okay. Mr. Rico, for what purpose?
If we could return to motion resolution, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, at the request of the author, please remove file item number 8, SB 253, by Senator Weiland from the consent calendar.
Clerk will note.
Mr. Speaker, please move file item 109 to the inactive file by Senator Negrete McLeod, SB 192.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, at my request, please remove from the consent calendar file item 152, SB 133 by Senator Corbett, and file item 154, SB 470 by Senator Corbett.
Clerk will note. File item 37 is passed and retained. We'll move to file item 38, AB number 18. Mr. Knight, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 18 by Assembly Member Knight, an act relating to local government.
Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight, are you not prepared to take up this bill?
No, Mr. Speaker, this bill has been passed and retained.
Clerk will note. File item 38, AB 18, passed and retained. We'll move to file item 39, AB 96. Mr. Ruskin, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 96 by Assembly Member Ruskin and others, an act relating to public health, making an appropriation therefore and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Ruskin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 96 is an urgency measure providing $8 million in financing for small gas station operators so they can comply with the Air Resources Board's requirements for the installation of Phase 2 enhanced vapor recovery systems by all gasoline dispensing facilities in the state. Senate amendments ensure that those who apply are under a compliance agreement with local air pollution control districts and in compliance with EVR requirements. They also sunset the financing program and extends the application deadline to June 30th of this year to allow 24 additional gas stations to be eligible to apply. The bill now accomplishes the purpose for which it was introduced, to allow more small gas stations to comply with important environmental regulations, allowing them to do this by by grants and loans in a tight credit market, so we'll both protect environmental regulations and also save small businesses, protect gas stations and their employees from going out of business. This bill is sponsored by the California Independent Oil Marketers Association, the Clean Air Coalition, the American Lung Association, and other groups. I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Garrick.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise in support of this bill. As you may recall, I had a bill that many of you signed that would have suspended the fines or capped them at $1,000. That bill is on hold right now. The 35 air boards came to the table, agreed to cap voluntarily their fines at $1,000 and return any fines over the amount that they had collected. This bill, as proposed by my colleague, Mr. Ruskin, will assist those stations that are having difficulty in financing the enhanced vapor recovery system that they are required to have installed by December 31st of 2009 this year. And for that reason, and because of the bad economic situation we're in and the inability of those small stations throughout the state to attain financing, I urge an aye vote.
Mr. Ruskin, would you like to close?
I thank Mr. Garrick for his supportive remarks and ask for an aye vote on this important urgency measure. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Ayes 62, no 0. Measure passes. Senate amendments are concurred in. Following 40, 41, 42, passed temporarily. We move to file item 43, AB 538. Mr. Arambula, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 538 by Assemblymember Arambula, an act relating to crimes.
Mr. Arambula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, existing law addresses the problem of people calling 911 as a prank, to harass, or to make conversation unrelated to any emergency. However, the law is somewhat vague in dealing with individuals who claim they are having a medical emergency, primarily to use the dispatched emergency transportation as a taxi service, a very expensive publicly funded taxi service. AB 538 allows an emergency medical transportation service provider to report people who use emergency transportation services as a publicly funded and very expensive taxi. Senate amendments were technical in nature. The bill has received no votes throughout the process, and I respectfully request your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no debate, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote? No. All those voters desire to vote? All those voters desire to vote? Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Ayes 65, no 0. Measure passes. File item 44, pass and retain. File item 45, pass temporarily. File item 46, pass and retain. Move to file item 47, AB 39. Mr. Huffman, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 39 by Assemblymember Huffman, an act relating to the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta.
Mr. Huffman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These are the Senate bills. This will be the first of two Senate Assembly bills that have come over to us from the Senate to set up the conference committee. We're in the unique situation where I will be asking all members to please vote no. I will need to vote yes. Reasons for this only Dotson can explain because he knows the rules of how to set up a conference committee, but I'm told that's what we must do. So I will ask respectfully for your no vote on this very good bill, or what I at least think will be a very good bill when it comes back to us from conference committee.
Mr. Mr. Calderon.
I rise in opposition to this bill and request a no vote because I support it. And I'm glad to see the conference vehicle coming back into play. It is a very valuable tool in policymaking. I would probably caution that if you want to be on the conference committee, you ought to vote aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Thank you for supporting this with your no vote. But just a clarification, you do not have to vote aye to be on the conference committee. There will be an opportunity to choose from both the aye and the no votes, Dotson has assured me. So I will be casting an aye vote, but will request no votes from the others. Thank you.
All debate having ceased, clerk will open the roll. All those vote desire to vote. 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 Yeah. All those vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 1, no 63. Senate amendments are not concurred in. Move to file item 48, AB 49. Mr. Fuhrer, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 49 by Assemblymember Fuhrer and others, an act relating to water.
Mr. Fuhrer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Following Mr. Huffman's spectacular performance, I would like to adopt his remarks as my own on this measure, the difference being that I intend to not only urge you to vote no on this, but I'm going to vote no too. This is the second of two Assembly bills that will be moving to the Conference Committee. We need to non-concur in the Senate amendments. I urge a no vote, with the exception of Mr. Huffman, who should vote aye.
All debate having ceased, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 1, no 63. Senate amendments are not concurred in. File item 49 through file item 54 passed and retained. We'll move to file item 79, SB 169. Mr. Benoit, Mr. Gilmore be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 169 by Senator Benoit, an act relating to crime.
Mr. Gilmore.
I had to put on my track shoes there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise today to speak on behalf of SB 169, a bill introduced by Senator John Benoit. A very simple bill. 169 will allow the head of a local or specified state agency that employs peace officers as defined to issue various honorary insignia that clearly state the person's position as an honorably retired peace officer from that agency. This bill is a narrowly drafted clarification to address an Attorney General's opinion that called this long-standing honor and practice into question. Only honorably retired full-time peace officers will be eligible to receive honorary insignia under this bill. This bill passed unanimously out of the Senate Public Safety Committee, off the Senate floor, and out of the Assembly Public Safety Committee. I respectfully urge your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Aye 66, no 0. Measure passes. File item 80, pass and retain. Move to file item 81, SB 272. Ms. Wiggins, Mr. Torlakson will be presenting. Clerk will read.
It's okay. Sure. Yeah, why not?
Read.
Senate Bill 272 with amendments by Assemblymember Torlakson.
Mr. Torlakson.
We're now asking for amendments to this bill to be forwarded to print and brought back on file. They're technical amendments, or deny vote on the amendments.
We'll have a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor signify by the use of sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Out to print. Back on file. File item 82 through 94, passed and retained. We'll file item 95. SB 315, Mr. Liu, Mr. Fuhrer will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 315 by Senator Liu, an act relating to pupil safety.
Mr. Fuhrer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. SB 315 by Senator Liu authorizes the governing body of any school district to establish and maintain what's called a walking school bus program. This enables parents to organize a walk with kids to assure their safe passage to and from school. We should, of course, be encouraging the safe passage of kids to schools. In all too many districts around the state, that safety is in jeopardy. This is a good bill. It is a non-controversial bill. I urge your aye vote.
Seeing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 20. Measure is adopted. File 96, 97, pass and retain. With a file item 98, SB 791. Mr. Yee, Mr. Cook will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 791 by Senator Yee, an act relating to public social services and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. SB 791 would ensure that in-home support service providers who are eligible for COBRA benefits are also receive the federal subsidy as provided by the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. Specifically, this bill clarifies existing law to state the entity administering COBRA health benefits for IHSS providers shall be the same entity for implementing the subsidy under ARRA. We believe that it needs to be codified in state law. Under ARRA, the entity administering the COBRA continuation premium may claim reimbursement through a payroll tax credit. The California Department of Social Services released an all-county letter to provide guidance to counties and public authorities for implementation of the COBRA subsidy to IHSS providers. The letter makes it clear the state is not responsible for administering this benefit. The IHSS workers provide personal care, domestic services to aged, blind, or disabled individuals in their homes. They need this, especially in these difficult times. The bill has an urgency clause added to meet the December 31st federal deadline. The bill had bipartisan support in the Senate and is keyed non-fiscal. The Republican analysis on the states, and I'll bring that up, and that's probably why it's got an oppose, is one should question whether the true motive behind this bill is to serve as a vehicle for a gut and amend during the final days of the legislative session. As I am presenting this bill, after this, it goes to enrollment if it passes. Now, maybe they know more about my chances of carrying the senator's bill than I do, because I think it's got a very good chance of passing, as I note that. And I can assure you there will be no late gut and amend. If you look at your analysis, you'll see it had overwhelming bipartisan support in the Senate, and I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters are 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 to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 52, noes 4.
54 vote.
We need, this is a 54 vote. Strike. Open the roll. Keep the roll open. All those voters are to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 54, noes 4. On the urgency, ayes 54, noes 4. On the measure, measure is adopted. Move to file on 99, SB 520. Ms. Pavley, Ms. Brownlee will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 520 by Senator Pavley and others, an act relating to high school curriculum.
Ms. Brownlee. Ms. Brownlee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. SB 520 is part of a national movement to promote community service for young people. Following President Obama's national call to service, this bill seeks to facilitate and encourage community service for California youth. This bill would allow for the issuance of a high school elective credit in an amount equivalent to a normal elective course in any particular school district for community service performed by a student. Offering students opportunities for service through our schools will instill at an early age the values of community service and will expand their personal and career horizons throughout their lives. This bill has received bipartisan support, and I wish to note that CTA has removed their opposition in response to amendments taken in committee. I urge your aye vote on this important measure.
Seeing and hearing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters are to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 42, noes 23. Measure is adopted. We'll move back to file in 45, AB 1117. Mr. Fuentes, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1117 by Assemblymember Fuentes, an act relating to State Compensation Insurance Fund and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 1117 is a technical bill that would amend the State Compensation Insurance Fund law so that members of the SCIF Board of Directors are not incorrectly disqualified from participating in important decisions of the board that may impact policyholders generally, but no board member uniquely. We accepted amendments in the Senate that would base our bill's conflict of interest principles on the substantive law governing financial conflict of interest for the SCIF board members. This bill is technical in nature and does not change SCIF law. It has not received a single no vote. Respectfully ask for your aye vote on concurrence on the Senate amendments.
Seeing and hearing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters are to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 69, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 16.
No urgency.
Oh, there's no urgency. Very well. Ayes 69, no 0 measure is adopted.
Senate amendments are.
And Senate amendments are concurred in.
Yeah, it's only when the urgency.
Move to file item 100, SB 159, Semidian. Mr. DeLeon will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 159 by Senator Semidian and others, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. DeLeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. SB 159 removes the sunset date on existing, quote-unquote, move over, slow down law. I carried a measure similar to last year. This bill is supported by law enforcement and the tow truck industry, and there is no opposition. The original legislation required the California Highway Patrol, CHP, to study the effects of this law. The study was recently completed, and it concluded that Move over law actually saves lives. SB 159 has received no votes on the Senate side and in Policy Committee here in the Assembly. I respectfully ask for aye vote.
Very well. Seeing and hearing no debate or discussion, clerk open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Tally of votes. Aye 68, no 0. Measure is adopted. File item 101 through 103 is passed and retained. Move to file item 104, SB 288. Mr. Yee, Mr. Fong will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 288 with amendments by Assemblymember Fong.
Mr. Fong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. These amendments simply clarify the bill language and were requested by the Secretary of State's office and county elections offices. With these clarifications, the county clerks will be neutral. I ask these amendments be adopted and the bill go out to print and back on file.
This will be a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by the usual sign of aye. Any opposed? Amendments are adopted. Out to print, back on file. File item 105 through 107. Pass and retain. Move to file item 108, SB 589. Harmon. Dr. Fuller will be presenting. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 589 by Senator Harmon and others, an act relating to hunting.
Dr. Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 589 ensures that hunting license tags and stamp funds are expended to benefit game species and their habitats. Current law, particularly as it relates to bear and deer tag monies, does not always require the monies be used for a dedicated purpose. Therefore, SB 589 will attempt to fix this problem. First, SB 589 would require that all hunting license tags and stamp monies are expended to benefit game species conservation and hunting purposes. Second, SB 589 would require that before any of these hunting monies can be expended, the hunting-related organizations have the opportunity to review proposed projects and provide comment to the Department of Fish and Game. This will create a much-needed transparency and allow for projects to be modified to better fit the needs of game species and hunters. This bill has not received any no votes at any point in the process, and I respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no debate or discussion, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Aye 69, no 0. Measure is adopted. Members, we'd like to welcome our former Assembly person, Nicole Potter. Nicole Potter. Let's welcome her, please. Members, we're at the second day consent calendar. If any member have or wish to remove an item? Mr. Tirico, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, at the request of the author, please remove file item 156, SB 734 by Senator Lowenthal from the consent calendar.
Without objection. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1584 by the Assembly Committee on Public Employees Retirement, Social Security, and act relating to public employees' retirement and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Ayes 70, no 0. On the urgency, ayes 70, no 0 on the measure.
Senate Bill 352.
Ayes 70, no 0.
Senate Bill 571.
Ayes 70, noes 0.
Senate Bill 251.
Ayes 70, noes 0.
Senate Bill 804.
Ayes 70, noes 0.
And Senate Bill 825.
Ayes 70, noes 0. Members, we'll go back to file item 127, SB 481. Mr. Nilo, clerk will read.
Senate Bill 481 with amendments by Assemblymember Nilo.
Mr. Nilo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These amendments just simply correct references in the intent language referring to the Department of Fish and Game and provide the department with a copy of the airport's depredation permit issued by the Federal Fish and Wildlife Service. The amendments also add language clarifying that the bill only permits the airport to take birds, not other wildlife that interfere with aircraft. I ask that the amendments be adopted and the bill be sent out to print and come back on file.
We'll have a voice vote. All those in favor? Mr. Huffman.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to confirm that the amendments have been worked out with my committee staff. I support them and join Mr. Nilo in requesting an aye vote.
Very well. We'll have a voice vote. All those in favor of the amendments signify by the use of sign of aye. Any opposed? Amendments are adopted, out to print, back on file. Members will now move to the adjourn in memories. Mrs. Brownlee. Mrs. Brownlee?
Yes, thank you.
Members, we're in adjourn in memories. Please respect the member at the mic, please. Thank you. Mrs. Brownlee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise to adjourn in the memory of Alana Moorman of Agora Hills and Teresa Amati of Westlake Village, both from my district. Alana was the only daughter of Las Virgenes Unified School District School Board President David Moorman. Teresa was a new lunchtime supervisor at the district's Lindero Canyon Middle School. They were killed in a tragic car accident this past Saturday during a tour of Italy. Alana was just 12 years old. Teresa was 43. Also killed was Teresa's mother. Alana was an A student who had just completed 6th grade at Arthur E. Wright Middle School and loved to travel. She was a close friend of Teresa's daughter, Alessandra, and had joined their family on their trip through Italy. Alessandra was seriously hurt in the accident, but fortunately she will survive. Still a child, Alana had already made a difference in the lives of those around her, and even those she didn't know personally. She volunteered to help with youth activities at local parks last summer and ran a lemonade stand to raise money for accessible playgrounds during a community service event in Los Angeles. She was also concerned about others and worried when their needs weren't being met. Because she had such empathy for others, her school had asked her to be a peer mediator next year. Although she displayed many adult attributes, Alana was just a kid like any other kid. She played volleyball, she loved to swim in the ocean, and lavished her love on her dogs, rescued from the pound, a chinchilla and a pet fish. It's hard to envision such vitality gone in such a quick blink. Please join me in extending condolences to Alana's parents, David and Christy Moorman, and her brother Ryan, a high school sophomore, who were not on that faithful trip to Italy. Please also extend condolences to Teresa's estranged husband, her father, and her daughter, Alessandra, whom we wish a speedy recovery. Thank you for honoring these people and adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mrs. Brownlee. We'll now move to Mr. DeLeon. Mr. DeLeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On July 10th, 2009, the labor and civil rights community was saddened by the passing of a dynamic and courageous labor attorney, activist, and father, Mario F. Vasquez. Mario Fernando Vasquez was born and raised in Mexico City and migrated to Los Angeles in 1961. Upon his graduation from Lincoln High School in East Los Angeles, Mario briefly worked for the gas company until he joined the U.S. Army in 1966. Mario later entered Cal State Los Angeles as an EOP student and finished his BA in Business Administration in 3 years. He later changed career goals and entered UCLA Law School. As his passion for the legal profession grew, he advocated for and became a co-founder of the People's College of Law, an institution that has graduated judges, prominent attorneys like Pete Navarro, and political leaders such as Antonio Villaraigosa, Gil Cedillo, Maria Elena Durazo, and Kent Wong. Mario vigorously defended the rights of immigrant workers, teachers, and women and working families in Southern California since 1970s. He worked at One Stop Immigration and Educational Center and later became a law partner at a law firm where he focused on immigration and labor law. Now, Mario was an internationalist by reason of his travels and political perspectives, and he always maintained a sharp sense of humor, wit, and loved teriyaki tacos. Mario was committed to an international view of human rights and became an expert on immigrant workforce in Los Angeles garment industry, having worked with the International Ladies Garment Workers Union and wrote a history of the immigrant workforce in the Los Angeles garment industry. Mario also co-founded the Paul Robeson Community Center, where he served as a board member as the center's lawyer. Mario eventually left the law practice and devoted himself to full-time labor organizing for the United Teachers of Los Angeles. Above all, Mario was a devoted husband, a father, and he's survived by his wife, Cristina Vasquez, the president of Unite, vice president of Unite internationally, his children Cesar, his daughter Gabriela, who just graduated from high school, Adrian, who just graduated from UC Riverside, and his brothers Armando, Antonio, Fernando, Federico, Edmundo, Roberto, and his mother Lourdes, and granddaughter Vanessa, and daughter-in-law Laura. He was a very good friend of mine, and I know he's a very good friend of many colleagues here on the floor today. He's a man who will be dearly missed, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends.
Thank you, Mr. DeLeon. Mrs. Harkey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It's always tragic when we lose a family member, but it's, I think, particularly tragic when someone loses a child. You can see the young people up in our chambers today and their parents, probably some of them with them. I'm going to adjourn in memory of Elisa Squirrel. She was a young lady from my district, 11 years old, lived in Laguna Hills. Elisa passed away Tuesday afternoon off the coast of Huntington Beach while she was participating in routine training exercises with the city's junior lifeguard program. At the time of her death, she and her other junior lifeguards were participating in a speed drop, life-saving tactic for lifeguards to reach distressed swimmers quicker. Her death is the first since the junior lifeguard program's inception in 1964, and it appears to be the result of a tragic accident. Alyssa leaves behind a mother, a father, 2 brothers. I ask that you keep her and her family in your thoughts and prayers during these difficult times. Thank you.
Members, 11-year-old passed away in the process of training to be a lifeguard to save others. I would ask that we stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Logue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it. I rise to adjourn in memory of Daniel G. Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery served as legal counsel to Yuba County for the past 20 years. As a county supervisor, he served me well. He entered public service in the Butte County Council office and later served in the DA's office. Dan was a professor at Cal Northern School of Law in Chico. He's recognized for his legal achievements as well as Murraysville Kiwanis Club, Foothills Forest Fire Lookout Tower Team. Dan Montgomery passed away July 11, 2009. He will be missed by his wife, Sylvia, his children, Doug, Joy, and Craig, and his grandchildren, Megan, Kiefer, and Meredith. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Nilo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise to adjourn in the memory of Charles Bartok. He came to California via Ecorse, Michigan, where he was born, but he was raised in San Francisco, spent 3 years in the Marine Corps, specifically the Korean War, where he earned a Purple Heart, and a 34-year teaching career in San Francisco after that. He was preceded in death by his wife, Colleen, of 44 years, survived by his children, Lori Kammerer Donahue, Kevin Bartok, Lisa Kay Balfour, and 3 grandchildren. He will be missed by his community, and he will be missed by his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilo. Members, we'll go back to guest introductions. Some of our guests just arrived, and I believe they're the guest of Mr. Chesbro. Mr. Chesbro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to welcome a group of young people in the Mitzvah Corps. They're, I think, sitting right above me up here on the gallery. The Mitzvah Corps is a group of high school students who have traveled to California, and Lord knows we need their help, to perform community service and develop a deeper understanding of social justice. They traveled from places like New Hampshire, Georgia, and Ohio, and everywhere in between. In their 4 weeks in California, they've been dedicated to doing mitzvahs, which means good deeds. The group has volunteered many hours at the Janet Pomeroy Center, a center for people with disabilities, the 826 Valencia program, a writing literacy program, volunteered at soup kitchens, and marched in the San Francisco AIDS Walk, and much, much more. Please join me in welcoming the Mitzvah Corps to California and to our assembly chambers.
Thank you. Welcome to the Capitol. Members, please take note that the tentative assembly session schedule is as followed. Friday, July 17th, floor session upon call of the Speaker. Saturday, July 18th, floor session upon call of the Speaker. Sunday, floor session upon call of the Speaker. And Monday, floor session upon call of the Speaker. There will be a Democratic and a Republican caucus upon adjournment. Please note there will be a Democratic and Republican caucus upon adjournment. We have not adjourned yet. Members, we're going to take up Members, we have not adjourned as of yet, and we're just requesting all members to remain in the chambers. We may have one other item to take up. Mr. Tirico, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under motions and resolutions, I hereby request unanimous consent to waive the one-day wait period for purpose of taking up item AB 1381 without reference to file immediately. AB 1361, excuse me. AB 1361 by Mr. Portantino.
Without objection, Mr. Gaines.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in support of AB 1361. There have been some amendments, but they are not of any nature for opposition, so we support this. Thank you.
Members will go to Assembly Bill 1361 for concurrence. Mr. Portantino, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1361 by Assemblymember Portantino, an act relating to vehicles and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Portantino.
Thank you, Madam Speakers, and thank you, colleagues, for allowing me to take up this bill on concurrence. Many of you have heard the story about the father and 12-year-old daughter who were tragically killed on the Angeles Crest Highway. The need for the urgency is there's a temporary truck ban that Caltrans administratively enacted, and that ban is going to expire. So I appreciate the courtesy and support for this measure to increase public safety in our region. As the father of two daughters, I still think of the brother talking about how much his sister liked to go to work with their father on her day off from school, and that day they were tragically killed by an out-of-state vehicle. The amendments are technical in nature, and one conformance with other truck bans around the state, reducing the maximum weight from 10,000 to 9,000 pounds, which conforms to the other similar truck bans in our state. This was a sad occurrence that spurned this on, and I really appreciate the bipartisan support to take this measure up this morning, and so I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, rise in support of this. This section of highway connects Assemblymember Portantino's district and mine, and the young lady and the father came from my district over the hill. I've driven this road several times, even in a car. It's a very strenuous activity, so this is a good piece of legislation. I support this wholeheartedly.
Mr. Portantino.
Thank the Majority Leader and the Speaker for moving it, and my colleagues from both sides of the aisle, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Clerk will open the roll. All those vote desire to vote. All those vote desire to vote. All those vote desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Aye 70, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. Members, there is no further business before this House. Mr. Tirico moves. Mr. Gaines seconds that the House stands adjourned. All those in favor signify by the use of sign of aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Quorum call is lifted. Democratic Caucus and Republican Caucus. Democratic Caucus and Republican Caucus.